Hello, and welcome to the Futurum Tech Webcast. I'm Shelly Kramer, Principal Analyst here at Futurum Research, and today I'm joined by Allan Pym, the Chief Operating Officer of APOS, for a conversation about how to make the most of your data and in real time. And this, I know for certain, is a challenge that many organizations are facing today. So, we all know that data is crucial. From sales and marketing to manufacturing and maintenance and smart organizations, everyone needs data in order to make decisions in real time. However, one of the challenges is that we have so much data that's being gathered, oftentimes in so many different places. Harnessing it, being able to use it is a huge challenge for organizations. So there are technology solutions that can help. And that's what Allan and I are going to be talking about today. So Allan, welcome to the show. This is one of my favorite topics, and I'm so glad to have you.
Thanks, Shelly. I'm pleased to be here, and looking forward to it.
Two data geeks talking about data. It doesn't get any better than that.
Well, some would differ, but sure, let's go with that.
All right. So before we dive into our conversation, I'm always interested in just learning a little bit more about my guests. So if you will indulge me, just tell us a little bit, if you would, about sort of your career path and how you got from, where you started to where you are today. I'd love a little bit of that backstory.
Yeah, thanks. And interesting, I came from a non-technical background in my education and early career, more in finance and those areas. But essentially, my path led me to getting involved with a technology organization. We were doing some development work and working on some projects that were building enhancement solutions and custom solutions for a few different organizations. And as sometimes projects go awry, we needed some assistance to help bring those projects back on track. And I reached out to an organization I'd heard of called APOS. And they saved the day on a number of fronts. And fast forwarding the story, I joined the company 25 years ago. And we shifted gears in a few different ways, and progressing through our work that's focused on business intelligence and analytics. And so as the organization has grown, my role has changed and adapted. And here I am. I head up the team in terms of our sales and marketing and business administration, all things in that realm. Yeah.
And continuing to save the day for customers, I would guess.
We are doing some pretty neat things.
Yeah,
Have to admit.
That's really awesome. So, as I said when I kicked off this show, we all know that data is important. That's no secret. Every organization has data. Not every organization knows quite what to do with the data. We see lots of challenges today that organizations are dealing with when it comes to data connectivity. Share with us a little bit, if you would, some of the challenges that you're seeing in the market.
Right. So, the data volume is no question. That's a given. Where we tend to fit in with organizations is helping them with the connectivity aspect of that. And it's one thing to have great data, but if you can't make use of it or extract it and leverage it with the right technical mechanisms to do that, then it's a great resource, but you can't use it. So that where we have focused in is specifically how to have connections into the data and leveraging data in that way. Yeah.
So when you think about this a little bit, when you think about data connectivity, one of the things that we look at is, I came across a research report on business intelligence that I thought was interesting. And on average, companies are drawing from more than 400 different data sources, okay? And 94% of organizations report needing access to multiple data sources to support decision-making. So And in the same report, a full 1/3 of companies reported that they had trouble connecting these sources together. Thus, the importance of a data connectivity solution, right?
Exactly. And building up assets in so many different places, that's the key.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us a little bit. I'd like to talk more about connectivity. So will you explain what live connectivity is and why it's so important for organizations today?
Yeah. So essentially, with a live connection versus another type of connection, often I think of it as an import connection, different
Yeah.
analytics tools, and that's where our focus has been as an organization, is coming from BI and analytics, and basically the ability to connect to data where it sits. So as data volumes have grown so much, the daunting task of moving data more than is required becomes a pretty big point of efficiency and timely information. So wherever movement of data and replication of data can be avoided, this is a pretty key point of streamlining the process. So with a live data connection, this allows you to leverage data right from its current location without having to move it from one repository to another
Right.
repository, meaning that you have to apply a new security model at
Right.
that next layer. You've got issues around data being current,
Yeah.
depending on the timeliness of the updates. Whereas with a live connection, you can make that analytics connection directly to the data source where it sits, and leverage all of those existing investments into security and
Yeah.
storage and all the rest directly from that. Yeah.
I have to admit, the minute you started talking about moving data from one source to the other, the first thing that popped into my head was security. And that is such a big deal for companies today. And not having to move that data from one place to the other is, I think, tremendous. So um, super interesting there. So let's talk now about the APOS Live Data Gateway. So, what's the primary purpose of that? And what are the key benefits? I mean, you touched on it a little bit just now, but are there other benefits that we can talk about that organizations can experience using this Live Data Gateway?
Yeah. The name's a bit of a giveaway, isn't it? So yeah, our focus really is on with the solution, Live Data
Yeah.
Gateway is to enable that live connectivity. So rather than
Okay.
having to replicate data, go directly to the source, directly to the database, and use a live connection. And so Live Data Gateway is doing that. And really, the key benefits, that security, that's a critical
Right.
one. The currency of data, making sure that it's not outdated, is a key one. So within the solution, there's a few different layers of functionality, and we'd love to describe a bit more about that and how that
Yeah.
fits. But each one really holds its own purpose and intent. And so essentially, the three layers are: one is the data connection layer,
Right.
the second is the data preparation layer, and the third is a data consumption layer. And so that really, those three layers kind of encapsulate everything that the solution does, and each one has its own piece in delivering the value that the Live Data Gateway has as a whole.
So when I was looking at the solution, I saw some specifics like the semantic layer view, which I thought was tremendously important because it allows non-technical users, someone like me, to be able to select tables and fields, and then it joins in APOS Live Data Gateway web web user interface. So I felt like that was kind of an important feature to mention. And then I also noted the freehand SQL view. So that allows technical users to create views based on queries in the gateway. And then the OLAP view, which creates a subset of existing measures and dimensions from a cube data source in the gateway. All of those things are, the part of it that applies to non-technical users is attractive, but the part of the functionality that applies to technical users is equally attractive, I think.
Yeah. It certainly is the case. So,
Yeah.
thinking again of those three layers, the data connection layer, that's
Yeah.
really where the Live Data Gateway server makes a connection to the data source. And
Right.
there's not anything particularly exciting about that, but you need a door to walk through to get to the
Yeah.
data. And so
Sure.
that protocol, that connection layer is exactly that. When we get to the preparation layer, and we often refer to that as our semantic layer, which it is,
Yeah.
and you mentioned the different kinds of views, and this is where uh, uh, views are created for the purpose of communicating data to the analytics tool in a way that makes sense, and also so that the end report designer doesn't need to know the complexities of the underlying data source, which is a
Right.
huge advantage. So the different kinds of views that you mentioned, uh, one is the semantic layer, which is kind of a wizard based interface, user interface, web-based interface, so that people can go in who don't have to have technical SQL skills. They just need to be able to know generally what kind of data they're looking for,
Right.
and that interface allows them to make those selections, create this view, um, and then they can use that themselves. They can share that out with others, and it really simplifies the whole process. The freehand SQL view, that's for more technical users who want to get in and get their hands dirty on SQL and be a little more targeted in the view that they're
Right.
creation, which works really well for those users. And then the OLAP view that you mentioned as well. This is really for putting a control layer on top of a big data cube so that you control how much data gets exposed out
Right.
to people.
Right.
So it really becomes this business layer that simplifies the access for users. And self-service analytics, very common term. We see that we play an effective role in that. But this notion of self-service modeling is something that we've been talking more about, because the simplified approach to creating these views and then being able to share those views out really brings down the requirements and the skill level that's required to be able to create that sort of modeling. So we're quite
That's
proud of that.
Yeah, absolutely, and understandably so. So let's talk about, I know that APOS is an SAP analytics partner. So tell me how Live Data Gateway works with SAP solutions.
Right. So frankly, that takes us to that consumption layer,
Yeah,
because what is the consumer of the data that we're sourcing and then preparing and then and providing out for use. So we're a longtime SAP partner, and
right,
our history with SAP goes back 25 years, where we've been building enhancement solutions for the BI and analytics platform. Business objects, it's been a huge part of our world for that time frame. Over the last 7 or 8 years, though, SAP has been very active in promoting and bringing to market their SAP Analytics Cloud solution, which is quite impressive, and its
yeah,
traction and market share is growing significantly. And so where we fit is that this was really the main crux of why we built Live Data Gateway to start, was to provide live connectivity from SAP Analytics Cloud to non-SAP data sources. So Analytics Cloud, SAP Analytics Cloud, is a cloud-based application, cloud-based platform for analytics, but it has these two different types of connection modes. One is an import connection, where you move the data from its source location and put it into the analytics cloud data environment. And
right,
that's effective and useful. But more and more organizations have been looking for, well, that's great, but how do I do my analytics with a cloud-based analytics platform without having to move my data from its location? So that's really the essence of a live connection, and
right.
what Live Data Gateway is doing, and fulfilling all of those benefits of live connection, but with SAP Analytics Cloud. So that really is the main focus of how we work with these SAP Analytics Cloud, or with the SAP environment, and providing that. So yeah, we can source many different kinds of data. So we're connecting from a wide range of legacy relational sources, to OLAP sources, to Hadoop sources, to targeted applications. And a really big one over the last few years, no question, has been the large cloud sources that really have taken up so much market share. And so the Google BigQueries, the Amazon Redshift, Azure, Snowflake, these environments are ones that we're getting a lot of activity with these days, to be able to use the analytics cloud environment from SAP and have a live connection to those data sources without having to move that data. And again, the data volume, that's where it comes in, because people just don't want to move that after
Right.
they've already made that investment. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So you touched on this briefly just a few minutes ago, but and I know that you're an SAP analytics partner, but the Live Gateway solution works with analytics solutions beyond the SAP analytics cloud. So I think that's important as well. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, we have been doing more work that way, and something that's been a key catalyst in this is some collaboration, important collaboration that we've been doing with SAP. SAP has a data warehousing solution, cloud-based data warehouse solution called Data Warehouse Cloud,
Right.
and that is a solution that again is growing a lot in its traction and its use within the SAP community, and so what one of the challenges has come up is enabling a live connection to Data Warehouse Cloud, but not from SAP Analytics Cloud, the analytics platform, because SAP does a great job of that, but other analytics solutions. How can they connect in live mode into Data Warehouse Cloud? And Power BI has been really at the top of that list of
Right.
considerations for that. So we've expanded our solution to be able to handle those scenarios specifically for Data Warehouse Cloud. That's been the main focus that we've had. So a live connection from Power BI to Data Warehouse Cloud. So that's opened that up, and in doing that, we've been expanding the consumption protocols
Right.
that are required to do that. So ODBC, OData, those kinds of mechanisms have allowed a much more generic approach to who can connect and consume data uh,
Right.
from the Live Data Gateway, including not just analytics tools, but there's even potential for other data sources to be a consumer from Live
Right.
Data Gateway as well. So it's been a neat expansion.
I think that what appeals to me is meeting customers where they are. You don't have to do, just this. There are choices and variety in the offering and all of that sort of thing. And I think that's really important today. I think that when customers are trying to make a decision about the kind of solutions they're adding to their tech stacks, I think that that's a valuable one when you can meet them where they are and when your solution serves them regardless of where they are. I think that's incredibly valuable.
Yeah, agreed. And it's a big world, and
Yeah.
lots of technologies within these organizations. One really specific point that's of note on that is we talked about the semantic layer, or data preparation layer, and the views that get created there. So what becomes unique about this is you can create those views, and then they can be consumed by multiple different consumers. So you have
Right.
this sense of, again, the old term of single source of truth, but we're talking specifically there about the semantic layer and how those semantic views can be shared across consumers.
Right. So it sounds pretty awesome. Now, what I want to know is more about your customers. Who are your customers? What kind of organizations are using Live Data Gateway?
Right.
Let's dive into that a little bit.
So one of the interesting things about a solution like this, a connectivity solution, is that there's nothing particularly industry oriented to this. There's nothing particularly um, specific business use case about it. It's very horizontal in nature, which um, I think it's just the broader applicability of the solution that's one of the great things about it. So as we think about size of organizations that we work with, we've worked with anything from large multinational corporations down to mid-sized regional companies. Um, we work with some of the major international pharmaceutical companies, We work with some banking organizations, a very large European bank, all the way to a regional bank in Ethiopia. We work in mining in Australia and France, some customers there. Oil and gas, we have some customers there. U.S. energy distribution company, healthcare, retail, manufacturing. Even one of the top tier systems integrators uses our solution for one of their internal projects as well, which is quite interesting. Yeah, we do
Well,
have. Yeah, no,
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Everybody has data.
yeah,
Everybody needs to be able to effectively use that data. Data connectivity is an important part of the whole equation. So it only makes, I didn't know the answer when I asked that question, but it makes perfect sense that
yeah,
there's just not a specific industry or business size or whatever, because everybody has data and data challenges, and figuring out a way to solve the connectivity issue is a universal challenge, I think.
yeah, for sure. It's probably worth putting context to one more specific scenario. So one of our customers, a customer called WR Grace, they're in chemical manufacturing and materials manufacturing, U.S.-based organization, but they work globally. Their specific was one where they had data in Google BigQuery that was central to their month-end close, financial close processes.
Okay.
They had some very manual data movement processes that were just generally creating inefficiencies. So by enabling a live connection from SAC to their Google BigQuery environment, what it did for them is a couple things. One, it removed 2 days a month of manual effort. So that's important. But even more than that, the real-time nature of being able to access that data meant that they're being able to close their financial cycles each and every month significantly. So that you don't measure that quite the same way as you do manual days of effort removed, but that's a critical benefit that's come from them.
It is, and a huge headache every month.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Any other customer stories you want to share?
Oh, there's lots of them,
Yeah.
but those are the kinds of things that we see. But the nature of the data sources is broad in its range, and the requests that we come into contact with each and every week, the new opportunities that come our way. It's really unique to see all the different places that people are leveraging their data, the different combinations of data. Yeah, it's fun to see all the different things that are happening out there with these great companies.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, data is the lifeblood of every organization, and that it is so true. So, being able to manage it, connectivity, all those things are just really a critical part of, I think, a foundational part of business success in so many different ways. And I think that we've touched on a lot of those things. Well, Allan Pym from APOS, thank you so much for spending time with me today. I knew it was going to be a fascinating conversation. You did not disappoint. For our listening audience, I will include some links in our show notes to where you can find more information, where you can find Allan if you have any questions. I know he's more than happy to chat with you. And with that, we're going to wrap our show. And thank you again, Allan, for spending time with me today. It's been an awesome conversation.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you, Shelly. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right. And with that, we'll see you next time.